And this is Chaos Radio 89.3 FM, and I got Jake Edwards on the line. And how you doing this evening?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, to give you a chance to introduce yourself, and we're talking about before we just moments ago some of the things that are happening in the world, and how we need to come back into the indigenous worldview if we're going to survive.
Well, yeah, my name is Jake Edwards from the Onondaga Nation over here in the Haudenosaunee territory, which is now occupied by New York State, Pennsylvania, Canada, Montreal, all through this area. And what we talk about over on this end now is this upcoming epic journey of honoring the Two Row Wampum Treaty. The Two Row is one treaty that was made, the first treaty that was made with the Europeans upon their arrival into our forest. And we explained to them, as they were weak and hungry and looking for some sort of livelihood from their long journeys, and they were also looking for trade. What we did is explain to them our great law of peace, what's known over here, and is the founding of the Constitution to the United States after the Europeans paid attention to how we lived throughout our forest. And so we shared that with them, which is our responsibility, because our understanding of our oral teachings is the white roots of peace travel in all directions, and anyone can seek shelter under that tree of peace, which is known today as the Great Law of Peace. I'm sure some of you out there are familiar with that term of the Six Nation Confederacy, known by the Americans that way, known by the French, called us the Iroquois Confederacy. We're known by ourselves, by our own individual nations, the Mohawk, the Oneida, the Onondaga, the Cayuga, the Seneca, and later the Tuscarora, which became the Sixth Nation. We're called the Haudenosaunee, which means the people of the Longhouse. We have this agreement with the Europeans in 1613 on how to conduct themselves and survive in the forest. And we shared with them all the bounties that Mother Earth provides for us. We shared with them. We also explained the Great Law of Peace, which in English terms would be considered the laws of nature and also protocols and so forth for government. And as we discussed all of this with them, we realized that they're not going away, so we share with them this agreement. We come up with the Two Row. It's known as the Guswenta. We explained to them that there's a belt is what it is. It's a wampum belt made out of quahog wampum beads. It's our way of communication. Very spiritual to us, very political. It's very important to our livelihood, in which we still have our original founding belt of the Haudenosaunee in our possession here at Onondaga. It's over 1,000 years old. So we share with them the Great Law of Peace and how to conduct themselves for future generations to enjoy the bounties of Mother Earth and not to destroy and only take from the forest what you need to survive. Well, these agreements that we came up with in this belt, to explain the belt, is all white beads except for two purple lines going down up 3 beads in each line, representing the vessels that we live in, representing our peoples. The one line represents a ship and all the Europeans, their ways, their customs, their religion, their laws and so forth in their ship. The other row, at equal distance apart, 3 white wampum beads, is the next purple row of 3 beads. Purple representing all our teachings from our ancestors that have gone on, passed on their knowledge to us orally. And so in this other purple roll is the canoe alongside each other. This is what we came up with after we realized these people weren't going away. And so this agreement is intact and in effect from 1613. And our understanding of this friendship, peace, friendship, and forever. They understood the peace and friendship, and they needed an explanation of forever. So our explanation to them was, and it still is today, as long as the sun shines from the east, sets in the west, as long as the grass grows green, and as long as the water flows downhill, this agreement will be in effect. And so, this agreement still is alive and well today. And so now, what it is it's not as well as it should be because our mother, the provider of all sustenance for our relatives, the forest, the animals, the people, is in danger. And so they're taking more than they need from our mother and not leaving for future generations, because in this great law of peace that we explain, the decisions we make, they're not made not only for today and how it will affect us, but they're made for future generations. 7 generations ahead we look out for, so that we decide today will in no way negatively affect the generations to come, so that they can have the bounties of life that we share today. So that's a brief explanation. If there's a question or you want something to me to clarify as far as we got now, I'll be happy to do so.
No, I just wanted to touch base a little bit with some of the like, I'm from Akwesasne, New York. As I was telling you, I grew up there in a little town called Ogdensburg, but I prefer to call it Akwesasne because that's what how the land responds to the language better. And so I know that there's a lot of the natural ways still up there, and I just spent the last half an hour talking about nutritional foods and how there's less and less there's no access to those ways because of what you just described of how the deforestation, the water. I mean, I'm here in the Pacific Northwest, and there's water all around us, but it's polluted. There's, I hear the elders here talking about there's no salmon in the Squally River. I'm very concerned. And
well, we all are, because right now here at Onondaga, where precedent was set back in the founding of America's government, they come to us and ask us how the Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois Confederacy nations, can live so far apart from each other, yet be governed under one government. And so again, we shared with the Great Law of Peace with them. And this is why I mentioned that the Constitution comes from principles of the Great Law of Peace. And this occurred here at Onondaga, which is now Syracuse, New York. Well, inside the city of Syracuse, New York is Onondaga Lake, where this Great Law of Peace taken place over 1,000 years ago. And so precedence was set there in teaching the Europeans how to govern themselves, living so far apart from each other in their colonies. And as we speak now, this corporation that's been polluting the waters here for over 100 years is now beginning to, what they call, clean it up. And Onondaga Lake now is one of the most, if not the most, polluted lake in the United States jurisdiction. One of the 10 most polluted lakes in the world. And what they're doing is they're going to take off so many feet of contamination. There's hundreds of chemicals in there. And they're going to cap it. Well, we're not satisfied with that, because that's not looking out for future generations. So litigation and so forth is still in effect. They're still going on to protect the water and bring it back to its purity. We lost our fish here too. Our whitefish and our salmon, our trouts, and their fish are coming in to meeting, Grand Council of Chiefs meeting here at Onondaga, and they asked for support, and we went up there, and there was over 400 of us walked across the border, delivering a message to Canada that we don't see this imaginary line through our territory, and that we're asking for respect and honor our people to travel freely across as though we did way before they arrived. And it was a powerful message with the number of people going across the bridge as we were singing and walking and carrying the Two Row Wampum belt with us. The chiefs of Haudenosaunee had it in their arm. As we went across the bridge, there was a 5.2 Richter scale reading of earthquake in that area. So when you talk about the natural powers that are still on our side to provide for us, we have to do our part to make sure that the plant life, our relatives, which is the food sustenances, are taken care of through the water and the wind and so forth, that they're clean and pure, like what was intended. And so when we talk about our oral teachings to get back to healthy, it's all still there. It's just that we're being outnumbered and outpopulated by corporate contaminations, and money is driving people to not be hungry, but to be unhealthy as to what they eat because of it. And the corporations are just polluting just to gain more revenue. So we have to back up a little bit and look at the natural laws, what's being violated there in order to protect for future generations. It's all of our responsibilities. It's not just the indigenous population's responsibility, although we haven't stopped giving thanks. Even during wartime, we still have our Thanksgiving daily for the plant life and all of our relatives, that their duties are still being carried on to provide for us. It's not just for us, it's for all people, all human beings. And so we have this epic journey. We're going to travel from Onondaga by the waterways over to Albany, New York, where the treaty was signed in 1613 with the Europeans, and we're going to paddle with our allies. We have a group of people, neighbors, here around Syracuse called Noon, N-O-O-N, Neighbors of Onondaga Nation. And they're our allies. They're the people of the vessel, of the ship. And we're going to paddle from Albany to Manhattan. In July 27, we're leaving Albany. We're going to paddle and camp out side by side down the river of life. And we're going to paddle to Manhattan, walk across Broadway down to the United Nations, and deliver our message to the United Nations that they explain to their people to help persuade their governments all over the world to pay attention closely to the environment and the needs of Mother Earth in order to provide for us, and water especially. But in the mix of it all, there's a message that we're bringing also, is that we're still here, and we're not going anywhere. This is our home. This is where our ancestors are. We have no place to go but to stay home, stay here. And so the message that we want to bring is to encourage all of the populations around the world to first pay attention to our mother's needs, our Mother Earth, and all of her abilities to provide for us. Because the treaties are being violated. Our words are in the treaties, our agreements are in the treaties, and they're being violated all throughout indigenous territories. And so the message that our allies are putting out there is honor the treaties to protect the earth, because those words are in the treaties also, on only taking what you need to survive and leaving the bounties for seventh generation to come. Our message is strong and clear. We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of support. We have a lot of allies, and it's gaining momentum every day. So the message is going to be heard worldwide. honorthetworow.org, onondaganation.org, and we're trying to get the word to the people of the world to hear this and help support not only Native Americans, not only indigenous peoples, but our Mother Earth, so that we have something for future generations.
Yeah, I was just been thinking of what you were saying about. I know the treaties are the highest law of the land that man has made, but what you were talking about, we really have to pay attention to Creator's law and do the right thing for Mother Earth, and especially we were talking about the water. Whenever I think of the water and what all the things that they're doing to that sacred element with the fracking and the polluting and all the poisons, and I know growing up on the St. Lawrence River and DuPont pumping all kinds of mercury into that water, and then we eat that fish that has the high rates of mercury and that create the cancers and things in our bodies. I just hoping people are paying attention to what we're doing. Like we really need to touch the earth and take care of her.
This is true. When you speak of it, not only the chemicals being dumped by the corporation that you mentioned, there's a few others, General Motors and Renault and so forth. And it's not just at the St. Lawrence River. It's any place they put their foundation, their building. And so it's time. The evidence is clear. It's all there. And as you said, the treaties and the Constitution are the supreme law of the land. And so those have to be abided by under own law, and the governments aren't doing it, and that's why we want to get to the people to persuade their government. And so we had this journey to Geneva back in 1924, it began, and the indigenous people that went there, he wasn't heard. He was a chief from the Cayuga Nation, named Iskahat. He wasn't heard, and the travels continued on right up until the 1977. A delegation of people from Haudenosaunee led a delegation from America to the United Nations again in Geneva, and we finally got our voice heard. And as we were there, you know how all these people sit in the room there, and they have their nameplates on the front, what country they're from, and so forth, represent who they represent. And our people, when we got there, the first words that came out, after they introduced themselves, they said, I look around and I see no representation for the eagle, for the deer, for the caribou, for the elk, for the water and the trees. There's no body here to represent that until we walked in, because that's who we speak for also. They're our relatives. Well, anyways, make a long story short, it took 30 years, and we finally got a declaration out of them in 2007. United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, with an S on the end. Peoples. That was a big battle to get that S put on there. And that's a whole bunch of words that we don't understand, that's in the UN policies and all of that, but we finally learned that without that S, and you were called people, you were already covered by a government, by a state. They call them states there. Governments or nations and countries are called states. So the states are claiming they already have given indigenous people human rights. In natural law, you can't give a life a right. It's just a natural law of life. And that was what our argument was. So anyways, all the countries across the world, 135 of them or so, accepted this declaration. A few of them sustained on their position of it, but 4 rejected it. United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. And these people here are saying that they're the ones who gave the rights to Native Americans or indigenous people. And so now they're leaning toward them. And it's all included in this declaration is the environment in which our peoples always live. And the treaties are in there. The rights of the waters are in there. Rights of Mother Earth. It's all in there. So we have a lot of work to do yet. We have a lot of cleaning up to do. If we work together, we can make this a good place again for future generations. Right now, it looks kind of dim for the future generations if we carry on at the rate we're going in the contamination and so forth.
Yes.
So our voices have to be heard, and that's what this paddle is at the Hudson River, going from Albany to Manhattan to the United Nations in New York, is to get our voices heard. We've been silent through boarding schools. We've been silent through jobs. We're not allowed to use our language in regular schools. The story goes on. And so our oral teaching is kind of kept to ourselves because of society's movement to assimilate us. So we're challenging that now. We're standing up for the last 30 years or so that our voice needs to be heard. Our elders, all their words that they've taught us and their oral teachings, we kept it to ourselves, honoring our ways amongst ourselves, our teachings. Outside of that, it's still going on, the harsh treatment to the environment, the waters, and it's trickling down into our community. So it's time we stand up and stand up loud. But we need our neighbors, our communities next to us, our cities, towns, our states, to stand up and get this natural environment clean for future generations.
Absolutely, and I just, as you speak, I'm just feeling deep in my heart that we've been saying this for a while, that we need each other and we need to work together to clean up all that has been done. And I feel that, like what you said, we can do it. We really can do it, but we need to stop business as usual, and all these things that you mentioned are, the foods and the eagle and the water. We have to take care of. We have to be good caretakers of the land, like our ancestors. If we want anything here afterwards.
It's so true. Stewards of the land is sometimes the term we hear used. We are the stewards of the land for the future generations. It's not ours, not for sale. It's for us to use and share. These are the old agreements. These go right back into when at the time the Europeans needed us. And we shared with them. Showed them how to plant, showed them how to gather, showed them how to hunt, and so forth. And so now it's at that time again now where we need each other again, more so for future generations. They have the technology to clean up streams and waters. They have the technology to stop contaminating. It's all there. It's about addressing corporate greed to clean up for Mother Nature's needs.
So true. And so how can we ourselves help you? I know that you mentioned the honor the tworow.org, which there's a lot of information. But how can we help get the word out? I know that I share locally in the community as much as I can. I know that there's different ways that we could, like you said, protest in a peaceful way. I was excited when because I've traveled that bridge many times back home, to see all the grandmas and the kids and the beautiful spirits there that are protecting that way.
Well, the one way we can help is in the small communities, in the large cities and so forth, is the grassroots is works best, is starting to clean up. If you see your township or your government not recycling or wasting or contaminating, speak right up. Speak right up for who you are. You are the environment. You're not just an environmentalist. You're not speaking for the environment. You are the environment. You need the same rain clean. You need the same spring water clean. You need the same wind, the airs, as the plant life, as the animals, as the environment. Without it, you are nothing. So you are the environment. One of our elders here was given the podium to speak, and he turned it down. He was told that your words ring so true to what you speak of. You would make a great environmentalist, and I'll give you the podium at the convention. He says, I can't be an environmentalist. And the guy looked at him in startled view, and he answered him, he said, because I am the environment. So that we all have to work for what's good in all our surroundings, starting out at grassroots as an individual. Know where your drinking water comes from, know how you use it, and what you add to it when you're done, and where it goes, because somewhere downstream, someone else is going to be using that very same water. So be very careful on how you use it before it goes out your door. And so the message is really simple to individual. Each individual has the responsibility. Each individual has the stewardshipness to carry on for the next generation. What decisions we make today will in no way negatively affect 7 generations to come. And it's true what you said. Business as usual is over. Before we come to the point of no return, when we get to the point of no return, the wars won't be over oil, over jurisdiction on the foreign exchange and all that. It'll be over drinking water. We already know the environment's changing because how we use our vehicles and contaminate the airs around us. All this has to change. We have the technology, we have the knowledge as humans. Now we have to put it to work for nature, which we are a part of.
I feel, again, like I was saying, those words are in my heart. I know the truth that I love that we are the environment, because everything we do to ourselves affects the environment, and the same with the environment to us. And so if we poison the air, and we poison the water, and we poison the food, we're doing it to our environment too. And I wanted to, if you could, just spend a couple minutes with, I know that there's, you talked a little bit about fracking, and I know that there's some folks here, corporations here, that want to bring that into this area. And if you could just touch a little bit about it, and how you have experienced it. So it's no good. I've been talking about it. I know it's no good, but I just wanted to have this put out there again, because the water is, to me, the key. Like you were saying, it will be the next war on the earth if we continue to, pollute it, do all these things, to have a good glass of drinking water. I mean, it's going to be hard to find.
Yeah, we have the fracking that's going on full steam ahead in Pennsylvania, just south of us, just about an hour south of us. They're talking about building a pipeline right up through our territories again to transport the natural gas that they get from hydrofracking. They talk about all the goodness the corporations put out, hundreds of millions of dollars of well-placed ads on TVs throughout. New York State right now is considering banning it. A lot of the towns and communities and counties put a moratorium on it to not allow it in their areas, which is smart for them because they see the evidence in our neighbors. Drinking water, this one fellow turns the drinking water faucet on and puts a lighter next to it, and poof, flames come out. Due to hydrofracking, the gas is seeping out into their water veins, contaminated. The corporation that's doing the drilling down there had to pay for water being trucked in, drinking water and so forth. Their land values went down to nobody wants to buy their place because it's contaminated. They can't sell it. They can't stay there. They can't farm. It's a very dangerous move that corporations are doing to hydrofrack. So the suggestion and encouragement to all communities that are listening is to push the lawmakers to put a ban on it. You look at where these corporations had first started this. Do the research. Don't pay attention to the high-selling commercials. Do the research on your own as a government leader, as a decision maker, which again goes back to each one of us as a steward. So the leaderships that make the laws and make the lawmaking bodies and so forth should look into the actual beginning of using hydrofrac fluid, which is very toxic, and there's no water treatment system known that can clean up what the brew they make to frack them, to send down with water and sand, and when it comes back up, it's just completely toxic, and it kills. Water treatment plants, sewage treatment plants, and so forth, the technology is there to clean up sewage and all that goes in the storm drains, but it cannot handle hydrofracking fluid. And you've got to be very careful. There's documentation all around this area in Pennsylvania where they're dumping this water. They're pulling into parking lots and open up the cockpit of their water tanks and draining it down into the sewage drain. There's grassroots people putting this out. They're showing what these companies are doing. And it's more like the individuals making money, but it's the corporations paying them. The corporations know what's happening with it because they're not responsible for it once it leaves sight. So we've got to be very careful, make sure all the facts of it, of the pure drinking water, is not affected. What happens afterwards? Like I said, in your own household, know where your water comes from. Know how you use it, what you add to it, and how you discharge it and where it goes. These corporations need to do that. And before you allow hydrofracking to come into your neighborhood, you make sure and understand pure water is essential to future generations. That's our job.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you sharing with that. We got about 5 or 6 more minutes. I just wanted to offer if there's something that we haven't shared that's on your heart that you would like to share with our relatives, that would be great. And I just appreciate the work you're doing and taking this time out and share with us and our, so we can be better, so we can be the environment as you were talking. Bring that in more. I know that we've talked about a lot of things that are happening, but I also know in my heart what you were talking about. We can do this, folks, together. We can clean it up, and I am very hopeful for the next 7 generations of people if we work together.
What I would like to share is Swagwegi Unkwehui, Fatahusiosta Naga, Wakawanitkaha, Mangane Owenjaki, Yunkwataway, Yunkwaiho, thank Ganawen Kwastane, Akano Hade Kino Hankwa. Now, it's what they asked the Hadi, Asun Otendu Hadi, Tat Yunkwaiho, thank Agwegi Unkwehui, Yunkwataway Owenjaki. Hendo and Gahawita and Hatidakwa Nitona. Yawaha. To our brothers, all of our relatives, Native Americans, carry on your teachings. Continue to learn your ways from your elders and always work for our mother so that we have a place in the future generations to walk in peace here on earth. That's what message I would like to be put out there with all indigenous people and to work with your neighbors now to together, we all have no place to stay. And I appreciate the time to get the message out there, and we'll look forward to working together on all these issues for future generations.
Thank you so much.
Okay, have a good day.
You too.
Ona.
So, this is Make No Bones About It. This is Chaos Radio, and we just shared with Jake Edwards, Onondaga, and yeah, I'm powerful message, folks, and we can do it together, and we will.